safe. That's very strict.
That's right. That's
The strict guidelines are.
I'm not sure. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay, if we could start getting into our seats. I think we'll start momentarily. All right. Now, do we have our interpreters ready? Do we have our everything ready to go? Okay, we'll take another 30 seconds to get everybody settled. So take your time. We're good. Of course. Okay. All right. Let me know when the headsets are ready, and then we'll start. And to the candidates, we're just waiting for the headsets to be ready for the interpretation. So just another moment or two. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
So this form is put on by Asian Community Development?
Yes. Yes.
Just wanted to be certain.
Yep. And Angie is yes. Yep. Okay, are we almost set to go? All right. Give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll begin. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here for our school committee forum. Some of you were here earlier this week for our city council forum. I want to thank you all for coming out once again. Thank you to all the candidates for being here, for making time in your busy schedules during a always busy campaign. I want to make sure we thank our organizers for the evening, our hosts, the Asian Community Development Corporation, the Greater Malden Asian American Community Coalition, Chinese Progressive Association, Asian Pacific Islanders Civic Action Network, Mystic River Watershed Association, the Mass Senior Action Council, and Urban Media Arts for their resources in making us available on YouTube. So we are also streaming on YouTube right now, and we will put that up for viewing a little bit later. And of course, the City of Malden for offering us this wonderful facility, and for tonight, allowing us to have food in the hallway, which we could not have on Monday. So that is called progress, ladies and gentlemen. So that's right. So, my name is Leverett Wing. I am your moderator for this evening. I've been privileged to be asked for a second time. I was able to be moderator for, again, the City Council Forum earlier, and I was the moderator for the Mayoral Forum a couple of years ago. So thank you for the honor once again of being able to be here. Want to point out that we do have translators doing translation for some of the folks in the audience. So if you do hear talking, that is our translators who are doing a wonderful job. It is being translated into Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese this evening, which is a wonderful, wonderful step forward for the AAPI community, particularly here in Malden. So thank you to the translators. Thank you to Karen. Karen is going to be our timer for the evening. So Karen, show the signs that you have so that they are aware of the time. Keep your eye on Karen. You'll have 30 seconds. You will have time's up. And then are you going to have a little chimer as they had last time, or are you just going to yell? Okay. Now, just so you know, Karen is the head of the Chinese Progressive Association, and I have been yelled at her many times. You do not want that. So thank you all so much. And just to go over the format, all the candidates have received the format for the evening, correct? Okay, so for the attendees and for those at home, each candidate will have an opening statement of 1 minute each. We will have the always fun lightning round of questions. Does everybody have their yes, no little placards with them? Wonderful. So for whoever's taking a photo, that is called the photo op for the evening, so please be ready for that. Then we will have candidate questions, two questions for each candidate going. We'll go back and forth. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer that. Then we will have a question for all of you, which is the top priority or top two priorities on your agenda. You'll have 2 minutes to talk about your top priorities, and then 1 minute to answer how you'll handle those priorities. And then we'll have a question, a Q&A session from the audience, and the audience is submitting questions to our organizers, who will curate those questions, and then we'll go forward with those. So then we'll have the candidate closing statements. So, yes. Okay, so if you didn't hear Angie, you can submit your questions and put it in the bowl outside before the question and answer segment. So thank you for that reminder, Angie. So what we will do is we will go this way and then that way, and then I'll spice it up a little in the middle, and then we'll start probably with Peter or Keith, and then we'll go in those directions. That way it's a little, even though I just predicted it, it's a little more unpredictable. So. Thank you all so much for being here. I think we will start with opening statements, if you'd like to proceed. Thank you.
Hello? Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Kimberly Gillette, and I am running to be your voice on school committee in Ward 1. I am fully invested in Malden as a small business owner, resident, and mom. I want to make changes that benefit our community for generations to come, and I have been volunteering with some of Malden's most impactful organizations for decades. I believe in giving our kids the best, especially when it comes to access to books and the librarians who help our children access them. I promise to hold our city and state accountable for the funding issues that have been consistently on the docket for a very long time. And I want to bring more social, emotional awareness and opportunities for our city to grow in those areas which I think benefit education the most. Thank you.
I'm on, okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Asian Community Development Corporation for organizing this forum this evening, and thank you to all of you out here in the audience for joining us. My name is Dawn Macklin, and I'm running for re-election to the Malden School Committee because I refuse to let decisions about our students and our schools not be made without the voices of those who are most affected, and that would be our students, our caretakers, and of course, our educators as well. I don't believe in quiet leadership when our kids deserve bold action. And I didn't step into this role quietly, to sit quietly, or to play politics, or to rubber stamp decisions. I came to challenge the same old approach, to demand equity and resources, and to make sure that our students need everything, have everything they need to thrive and not to just get by. So I appreciate you being here this evening, and thank you.
Good evening, my name is Elizabeth Horty. Thank you all to the Asian Community Development Corporation, UMA, and all the others who are putting on this forum tonight. I am currently the Ward 5 representative for the Malden School Committee. As a parent with young children, or I'm sorry, they're not young anymore. As a parent with children in the public school system, I'm incredibly committed to this community, and I know what it takes to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity and the opportunity also to thrive. Over my past term, I've been working with the committee as well as my subcommittees, which is finance, and I'm also the representative to one of our collaborative schools to work towards improving the experience, the learning opportunities, and hoping to improve all of those for every student in the district. I think my time is up. I'm not sure. Thanks. That's very quick.
Hello, everyone, and thanks to the organizers for hosting this forum. My name is Peter Piazza, candidate for school committee in Ward 6. I'm running for 2 reasons. The first and most important is that I'm a parent of 2 children in Malden Public Schools, kindergartner and a 3rd grader at Salemwood. The second reason is that I've spent my entire career in education research and education policy. I currently work for the UMass Center for Education Policy, and I do research on issues like curriculum diversity and student emotional safety, issues that have had particular resonance for the AAPI community in recent years. I want to put my values and my experience to work for students and families in Ward 6 and in Malden in general. So I'm running unopposed in November, but I've been out there knocking on doors for months because I love making connections with voters and hearing about what folks care about. I hope to earn as many votes as possible as I can, and I hope to earn yours in particular on November 4th. You can learn more about my campaign at piazza4Malden.com and at my newly created Facebook page. Look forward to the conversation tonight.
Thank you. My name is Keith Bernard, and I'm running for re-election to the school committee representing Ward 7. I want to thank Mr. Wing for moderating this. I want to go and thank the organizers for putting this together. I know it's very hard to go and get all of us cats into one little space. You know, I originally ran because my mother was a teacher, and I think that it is education is really just crucial for all of our children. We need to go and give them those opportunities. We need to give them the space to excel. I've been doing this for the last 4 years. I have been on budget. I'm currently on policy and procedure. I was on negotiations because I thought it was important to go and be in the room with the union, to go and hear what they needed, and to try to go and advocate for them in a fair manner. That being said, thank you for your time, and I look forward to the discussions.
Is it on? Oh. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Musalam, and I've been living here in Malden for a little over a decade now. I can't believe it's been that long. But in addition to, over a decade of executive leadership in the nonprofit community, especially in community service and organizing, I am a mother of 4 Malden Public School students, 2 of whom are in the high school, 2 of whom are in the elementary schools. And we've got a long way to go. While very well-intentioned, we lack a lot of representation, especially linguistically, for our very diverse population. In fact, it's been identified as an area of weakness by our new superintendent. And then also, we need to be more in a collaborative relationship with parents and making sure that students are not being shamed in school due to lack of resources, such as electricity at home because their parents couldn't afford to keep the lights on. So hope to address these issues with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Sharon Rose Zyberg, and I represent Ward 8. Thank you to the organizers for putting this event together. I'm running for re-election for a 3rd term. I've lived in Malden for 35 years and raised 3 children here who all went through Malden Public Schools. My career has largely been in education, and I have over a decade of classroom experience. Currently, I work for Melrose Public Schools as an after-school instructor for first graders, where I have 27 students. Being on school committee is a job, and it's a job that I love. During my 2 terms, I was on the honors program working group to create a district-wide honors program. I helped plan the updating of the ELC playground to make it accessible, served on 2 negotiation teams, and served on the superintendent search committee. Currently, I chair policy and procedures, where we've been updating, reviewing policies, and I'm on the tech and student services subcommittee, where we're looking at the role of AI in our schools. My favorite part of this job, though, will always be getting to work with parents and caregivers when they have an issue, and they can give me a call, and I can help them reach a solution. I humbly ask for your continued support, and I look forward to tonight's event. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks so much. 2 things I was remiss to do. One is, my habit is to refer to all the candidates by their first names. If you prefer that I do it in another manner, please let me know. Also, I was remiss in not acknowledging, we have many youth and youth organizers here this evening, so I want to thank the youth for being here in particular, so thank you all for that. Next is the lightning round. If you could all grab your placards, which I have as well. I will not hold mine up because I am not a candidate. So if you could, I'm going to ask 4 questions, and you can please hold up your placard with your answer to all of them, yes or no. Lightning round question number 1. Will you advocate to enhance language access both for students in class and for family engagement in school decision-making? Wonderful, thank you. Question number 2, will you ensure that students have leadership opportunities to engage in community dialogue and decision-making processes related to schools? Wonderful. The higher the better, I suppose, yes. Great, thank you, Angie. Question number 3, will you support including place-based environmental education in Malden schools? And final question, will you support diversifying Malden Public Schools' foreign language program offerings to reflect the community's cultural and linguistic diversity? Wonderful, thank you all so much for that. So now we will proceed to the next portion of our agenda, which is the questions, and we will start over at the end with Sharon, if you're ready. Question number 1, and please, if as we proceed down the line, if you need me or if you'd like me to repeat the question, please let me know. Happy to do it. Question number 1, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question as we proceed down. So question number 1, what would you do to ensure working parents are engaged in their children's schools?
There we go. Right now, the way that we have things set up, I mean, we're always accessible, basically 24/7, as my family can attest. I do think that we can do a lot more work to get communication going out to our school groups, and I'm proud that we have actually done a lot of work in the school committee to have translation services available for people. I know that we have recently done, we started this year actually with a Facebook post trying to get more information out so people know what we're doing, so that they can come and make their voices heard. We've been reaching out a lot with community people for different working groups. I know that tying into the questions you asked, we've made a lot of efforts to try to actually bring a lot of different people in to working with us. When I worked on the superintendent search subcommittee, we made sure that we had a wide spread of people and looked for a lot of, like, we had different categories and wanted somebody from every school, somebody who represented all these different areas to make sure that we were getting parents who were involved, to make sure we had teachers who were getting involved, who represented the wide scope of what Malden is, so that we weren't getting one perspective, because that's not how we should be looking at things. I do think we do need to do more on communication as far as what we do as a school committee. A lot, you find out once you start actually getting on the school committee, what you can and can't do, that I think we can do more work with that. And I think that some of the forums and things that we've been having lately, it's been nice. I went to the AI one that was the other night to try to reach out to parents. That's also then going to be done. We're making sure that we do things virtual as well so that we can bring people in and incorporate them that way. It's tricky to work with everybody's schedules. So we're trying to do virtual as well to bring that in so that people who can't come in person also have that opportunity. There's obviously, we post minutes, we post a lot of different ways to get involved, and plus then through our school systems with the different programs that we have in place with Parent Square, there's always efforts going on to increase that parent participation.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, so it's wonderful that our district is beginning to head in the correct direction in reaching out to parents, but we still have a large gap to follow. So what we need to be doing is more frequent check-ins with parents. Right now, we have parent-teacher conferences, maybe once per term. And I think we need to be having at minimum monthly check-ins with parents. We need to make sure that we're offering a variety of times. A lot of working class parents can't come first thing in the morning when they're trying to chase after children to get them ready for school. And then also they have to work in the afternoons. So I think we need to be having a little bit, later in the afternoon offerings, maybe sometimes into the evenings. We need to make sure that we have different levels of access. So I am very impressed by what the superintendent has been doing, reaching out more to parents. I'm one of them. I would also like to see all of our school committee members go out more into the community and have regular office hours so that they can sit down with their constituents and listen to the needs of not just parents, but students as well. And we need to make sure that we're offering full spectrum of communication services. So when we're asking families to come in so that we can have communications with parents, we should also be having listening sessions with the youth that they're bringing in, whatever that age group is, and getting feedback from those children. What support services can we be offering to families that are struggling? And then most importantly, we cannot expect them always to come to us. We need to be willing to go out, especially right now with certain populations feeling especially vulnerable and targeted. We need to go to them and give them remote options. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keith?
Thank you. I think this is a great question. It's always difficult to go and work out how you go and engage the public. And I give credit to the city of Malden. We've done a lot. We've done a lot to go and provide translation. We've done a lot to go and provide time. We've gone and done a lot in terms of trying to go and make sure that parents and caregivers are aware of what's going on in the school. There's a brand new app called Parent Square, which allows people to go and switch it to their preferred language, and it does the translation automatically. And I think this is a wonderful thing that we've invested in. Is it the end-all be-all? No, of course not. Is there more we can do? Yes, and a lot of the times it's limited by factors such as time and energy. Personally, I always do go and make sure that it's a priority for me when a parent or a caregiver reaches out to me, I return that call. I build a trust between the people in the ward, and they know that they can go and they can call me if they need a hand with something, if their kid is being bullied, if they feel that their IEP is not being met, if they go and they feel that there's an issue going on in the school that I should be aware of, or some of the calls, which I wish I got more of, that a teacher's doing a wonderful job. And I do think that, yes, we do need to do a little bit more community outreach than we've been doing, but we really need to go and make sure that we're establishing the trust with these communities that are out there to say, hey, I don't just want to walk into your space. I can be a big imposing presence sometimes. And I don't want you to feel like I'm in there threatening you. I'm in here to go and try and make sure that you know who I am, build the trust, and then you know who to go and talk to.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Peter?
As a parent of children in Malden Public Schools, parent engagement is central, absolutely central to to my motivation for running in the first place. I love hearing from parents about schools, and as I'm knocking on doors, I hear so many thoughtful comments about students' experiences in schools. Now, to the question about what I would do if elected, a few things. One is that I would love to host office hours in the schools that are most common in Ward 6, like Salemwood, Forestdale, and the Linden. Second thing is, I work in the organization that I work for, the Center for Education Policy. We implement parent surveys in K-12 districts that we partner with throughout the state. Malden is not one of our district partners, but we have survey materials that we can use, and I think that regardless of who provides the survey, I think reaching out to parents and getting more data on parent experiences is really important. I'd also like to do more community building with parents. I'm an active member of the Salemwood Family Teacher Organization. And in meetings, in the Fall Fest, we have the Trunk or Treat coming up on Friday. These types of events build bonds across the community, and they're so important for communication and getting the information out. Now, all of those examples that I just provided are sort of like one-way examples, right? Getting information out to parents. But I strongly believe that there should be a two-way form of communication with parents, that parents are assets for educators to help us understand how their students learn. Parents know their students really well. And by learning about student strengths and areas of growth from parents, we can better meet student needs in the classroom. So that two-way communication is extremely important.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Elizabeth?
Thank you.
Great.
I think I want to start by saying first and foremost that the school is only as strong as its relationship with the students and its relationship with the families. One of the things that I know, like Peter mentioned, as a parent is things like the Parent Square app that have come out most recently, I think have increased my communication with the district, I would say tenfold. Not only am I receiving communication that I would have loved to have had sooner, but I'm also more engaged. I'm looking for these emails. I'm wondering about what's happening. That has been a great asset, but I think that there's even more that we can do within that. I love the idea of surveying people. As someone who also works in a different school district, I would like to not speak into the void. I would like to find out from people where they're at, what they need from us, or what they want from their school district. I think community events are very important. We just had one that Ari Taylor, the Ward 5 City Councilor, and I just had one this weekend that we were at, and we'll be at 2 coming up this weekend for Halloween. There are a lot of different things, ways that I'd like to engage with people in that way. I've also connected with a lot of my constituents through email and individualized meetings, and I think encouraging people to access us in whatever way they feel most comfortable is the best way to go about this. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Dawn?
Thank you for the question. So over my 2 terms on the school committee, I think that we've made some real strides with moving communication efforts forward. Folks know that I'm always available via email as well as cell phone. This is my real cell phone numbers posted on the city page, as well as my campaign literature. And our superintendent has held many forums on different various dates. He's even, you know, for those who are unable to attend, he's held forums remotely. And all in the evenings to give caretakers an opportunity to participate. I think social media is a good tool. There are many Facebook pages out there where the parents are communicating. we all respond, many of us on the school committee, with any parent or caretaker questions. I too attended the AI forum that the superintendent had on Tuesday. There'll be another one remotely on Monday for anyone who's interested in learning about where the district is going with AI and just engaging with the caretakers, because it was very interesting to even speak with the teacher, Ms. Rose Zyberg, and I were seated right in front of one of the teachers at the BB. So there are meetings that, again, that are always held in the evenings, and I think by continuing to update folks via email and on Parent Square are also very good tools as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Kimberly?
Can you repeat the question for me?
Sure. It is, what would you do to ensure working parents are engaged in their children's schools?
So working parents have it especially hard because of their work hours, obviously, and I think everyone did a fantastic job of addressing the steps Malden has taken. I think technology and social media are great tools. The varied times in which we have parent-teacher conferences are very helpful. I think the pandemic pushed social media or engagement on a whole new level, because now you can do your parent-teacher conference from your living room. And I think that was very helpful for people. But working parents don't just want stats. I think they want to actually be involved, and that's really hard. So I think community engagement on deeper levels with events are really important. And now that we have neighborhood schools, I think it really can bring a community together. I think food and culture, and Malden has plenty of that. And I don't think we do a terrible job at it to begin with. I think everything can be funded better, and that's kind of the crux of my campaign, is making sure that we have the funding, because there isn't a lack of generosity or help in Malden. And I think the desire to do good is there, and I think it's the funding and the time and energy that we're missing, and working parents feel that the most. I know there's volunteer opportunities, but I think the social media engagement and having, socially significant, culturally significant events in our school can really bridge that home to student that I think we're all looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you for your thoughtful answers to that question. The second question, and once again, you'll each have 2 minutes to address this. We will start with, as I mentioned, Peter. We will work our way down this way and then loop around. Isn't that exciting? We're going that way. So, and for the next question, we'll start with you, Keith, and we'll loop around this way, just so that everybody's aware. The next question, again, for 2 minutes to respond. The recent enrollment report shows that several hundred new students have joined Malden schools. How do you think the Public Schools Welcome Center could be improved to ensure new students and their parents, including immigrant families, feel welcome and have access to the information and resources they need? And once again, as we work our way around, please let me know if you need me to repeat that.
I appreciate this question, because I think a welcome center is an underappreciated aspect of a district's kind of like parent outreach system, right? And along these lines, I have to give credit to the current superintendent, because one of the things that he's done immediately upon taking over was renovate the welcome center space. And if you go there now, there are board books and toys for kids to play with, so that parents can come in and meet with district personnel to do the boring adult stuff, while kids can be entertained. And I think that that's important. I think creating a space that leverages advances in technology in order to communicate across languages. Of course, the diversity of Malden is something that is so valuable to all of us. And, things like, the sort of like earbuds that you can put in and they automatically translate in real time. These are innovations that allow us to communicate across linguistic differences that are amazing. And so I think like bringing these sorts of resources into the Welcome Center, and also just getting the word out there in the community. This sort of connects to my answer from the previous question. Community building events like the Fall Fest and the Winter Fest and et cetera that they have at the schools, these things kind of like break that ice, you know? And by breaking that ice, I think people will feel more comfortable to come into the Welcome Center if they have a question. So language access and community outreach to let them know that the Welcome Center exists and it's there for their support. Those are my kind of key priorities there.
Thank you, Peter. Elizabeth?
Thank you. Peter, I was going to mention the same thing you were, which I think the rest of us are, so I just want to put that out there, that the renovation to the Welcome Center is phenomenal. On my monthly visit with the superintendent, we were down there most recently, and I was so pleased. Such a welcoming space with opportunity and space, like you said, for children, toys. Opportunity for them to sit on the floor, on the, like a rugged space, obviously, but like things like that. So it's not like going to the bank. Previously, it felt like you were going to the bank, which when I want to register my child, I want it to feel more like an environment, welcome, and they're geared towards children. So that, I think, has been a huge, huge change. I do think, and I'll be honest, I don't know enough about the folks that are at the Welcome Center to know what level of like language acquisition they have or things like that, but that is obviously incredibly important when I'm going to register my child. I want to make sure that I'm understanding everything that I need to do. So I think kind of digging down a little bit and making sure that we're covering some of that areas with various different options of ways for translation, and making sure people understand what they need to do. There are a lot of little pieces when it comes to registering your child that might seem unusual if you've never done it before. So I think we can kind of focus on that. Something else that I think is important is not only the Welcome Center itself, but also the school. When you're going to the K-8 school, I think kindergartners have a wonderful opportunity. They have a slow start. They're introduced to a lot of folks. But I think when you're coming in at a different grade, I think we might want to reconsider how we're partnering with like PTOs and things like that to make a more welcoming entrance at later grades.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Dawn?
Oh, I was already on. So, yeah, the Welcome Center has seen great improvements since we registered my eldest grandson probably about 10 years ago. It was called the Parent Information Center at that time, and I got to say that it really wasn't so welcoming. As you know, some of my colleagues have mentioned, it was just very, very straightforward and strict, and I think some of the requirements can be overwhelming when you're going to register your child, and it kind of felt like it was an impediment to enroll your child rather than someone helping you and engaging you in that space. So I'm happy to see that that has changed over time. But what concerns me is some of those requirements, or most of them, are still in place, and that could be very difficult for some of our parents to navigate, particularly those who are immigrants and those with language access. So language access is essential in this case, and I'm certain that Malden is doing that. We, certainly do it with the school committee meetings and most of the meetings. So, I just hope we're really engaging and making the process easier. I know with our eldest grandson, Jeremiah, because we were new to Malden, it required a home visit, which delayed his enrollment. So, there are things that are necessary, of course, to prove your residency, but we shouldn't make it difficult to get our children enrolled. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Kimberly?
I'm at a little bit of a loss because I don't know it as well as some of the incumbents, and I haven't enrolled a student in the Malden Public Schools in quite some time. But when I did, it was also the Parent Information Center. I think the Welcoming Center is, like much of Malden, has made huge strides. There's always the chance for improvement, and I think we're here tonight to discuss, the language barriers, and we have enough languages in Malden that a Welcoming Center, that's gonna be a really big job. So every department in Malden, especially the school systems and especially the Welcoming Center, should be really well equipped with the latest technology. I've seen the earbuds in the audience at these meetings for a very long time. I would love to see funding for those available to whoever needs them whenever they need them. You know, we should have more of them. They should be rentable at the library. And I think something like the Welcoming Center deserves that kind of attention and funding, but it sounds like the rug and the play space, I mean, that's what you want for kids in a Welcoming Center. But for the adults, I think it's ease. I think I lean more towards less restrictive, and with technology these days, it should be easier. It should just be easier, and we should provide easier pathways for parents to enroll students in the least restrictive way possible.
Great, thank you, Kimberly. Sharon?
Thank you, and yes, I too love the changes that are over there physically. It really was off-putting to walk in and see families not having a place to really sit, not having any space. It just was not very welcoming. And I can even remember back to other years, I know that things have streamlined. There used to be literally lines out the door for people to get in. So I like seeing that that has changed, which is the direction we should be going into. Some of the things here just that others have brought up. One of the things that if there are problems at the Welcome Center, please get in touch. I have not really heard any feedback that people are having problems. We're always here to help. One of the things that we actually even look at, talking about with how you can sign up, we actually have had this talk a few times in policy, and we take another look at what are we requiring people to present? Should we be changing this? Is this making it too hard for people to get their kid in school? When people show up, if they don't have a piece of paper, it can mean a kid doesn't get in right away. That's not okay. Kids need to be in school, so we need to make sure that we are welcoming and actually getting kids into their classroom as quickly as possible. So I like the fact that we do frequently look at policy to see, okay, are we hitting the target? Is there something that we should be changing? And I always welcome people to call and let us know if it's not working. We can always take a look at what we need to do. Another thing, I don't know how much they give at the Welcome Center, I will say that, as far as resources for getting in touch with us. Like, do you get a list? Okay, here's, if you have this issue, here's your person. As well as within the greater school community. I know I struggle a lot with, I get lots of phone calls, well, other people struggle. They don't know where to go. I have a child who needs X, and they don't know where to go. We should be handing that out at the Welcome Center, so that every person who comes into the school knows, okay, if this is an issue I'm having, this is the name of the person I can call, and then we need to be responsive to that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sharon. Nicole?
All right, so Malden's come a long way. I remember way back when it was the Parent Information Center, and it was so difficult to get a hold of everybody. It was very bureaucratically oriented. It was just not easy at all. And now we have the Welcoming Center. We still have some ways to go. I'm very happy to hear that we're moving towards a more welcoming space now. And everybody up here has been wonderful about language access. We have wonderful technology to help with that nowadays, but we need to start taking it to the next level. It's not just surface, lip service, we're gonna make sure that you have access to language. Now it's time to up it to cultural competency. I don't know how many times I have heard from especially our high school educators, how proud they are about how diverse Malden is. And it's even identified as one of our strengths and our weaknesses in the superintendent's report about how diverse we are, and that we are literally a mini UN with over 57 languages now and counting at our high school. I would love to see some artistic welcome at our Welcoming Center. Maybe get some of our students who are artistically inclined to, design and make some murals in the space, but also some other things to consider. We have a lot of refugees who come to Malden, and we have a lot of students who come here for medical care as well. I'm involved with the chaplaincy programs at quite a few of our local hospitals for children who come here for complex health issues, and they are completely overwhelmed we need to make that process a little more manageable for them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. And if I could, and something I should have done at the very beginning, if I could ask folks in the audience to please silence your phones, that would be very helpful. And my apologies to you for that a little bit earlier. I should have done that earlier. So if folks could take a moment to silence your phones, that'd be very helpful. Thank you. Keith.
Thank you. I'm going to go and echo the thoughts from many of our people. Dr. Sipple has done a wonderful job in going and opening up the Welcome Center and making it a very accessible place, and to try and go and put a little bit more of a human touch to it. Of course, there is room for improvement, and I agree that, there are times that we need to go in and look at trying to be a little bit more culturally competent in terms of understanding where our parents are coming from, where our caregivers are coming from, and what their expectations are of the education system, and to go and make sure they understand how the Malden education system works, so that there's clear communication. If we don't start that initially, there's going to be a lot of conflict along the way, because if you come from a lot of the Latino nations, there's a very high expectation of what the education process is, and sometimes there's some miscommunication there. And luckily, Dr. Sipple is he's quite fluent in Spanish, and I believe that he's learning Portuguese, that he goes and he's actually going and trying to go and make sure we're reaching people where they're at. And we should go and absolutely go and have someone there, no matter where you're from, to try and go and say, hey, we are here. We understand this is traumatic. You're handing us your kid. You're giving us your kid to go and educate them, to care for them from when they turn from their kindergarten to 18, or, you've just come from, another country. Maybe English is, you don't have a grasp of English. We need to work with you. We need to go and let you know, hey, you are welcome here. We're going to do the best we can to go and educate your kid. And we want you to know that your kid's going to be safe in the schools. And make sure that we go and we have very clear processes about going and saying, okay, just need to go and see, can you get us these documents? How do we work with you to get these documents? We've done a wonderful job in trying to go and do that. Of course, we have to improve it.
Thank you.
But that being said, thank you for the question.
Great. Thank you very much, Keith. So, all right. For our next segment, we will go to the, we'll have two segments to this question. The first segment will be, what do you see as the top pressing issue in Malden Public Schools? And you will have 2 minutes to address that. And then after that, you will have 1 minute to address what will you do to address that top pressing issue. So what we'll do is we'll start with Keith. We'll work our way around this way and with Peter. And then for the response, the 1 minute, we will start once again with Keith and work our way back around. So Keith, if you could address that first part of the question. What do you see as the top pressing issue in Malden Public Schools? You have 2 minutes for this segment.
You're going to hear it time and time again. You're going to actually go and hear it quite often in the next few months. It's going to be money. It's not inexpensive to raise a child. It's not inexpensive to care for a child, and it is not cheap to go in, teach a child, and give them the education that they deserve. And we need to go in and make sure that everybody, from the school committee to the administration, to the mayor's office, to the city committee, and to the population in general, to know how we're going and spending their money, where our priorities are, to make sure that they understand that, hey, there's lots of places where we're actually going and underfunding, where we should have gone and spent some more money. And if you're going and paying attention to any of the discussions that are going on with the current discussion around an override, a lot of it is, hey, we're not spending enough on our students, and that's hurting them. And it's very easy to go and say, hey, we're asking everyone to go and take a little bit of a hit so that we can go and meet our requirements. Also, the first place people often want to go and cut is the school systems, because they'll say, I don't have kids in the schools. And I'm sorry, I don't have kids in the schools, but I've got 2 grandchildren that are going in, that live in Worcester. And if some of my tax dollars happen to go out to them, or if I spend a little bit more tax dollars here, and we can maybe go and say to the state commission, say, hey, give them that extra dollars to them, I'm helping them out in general. It just helps us as a society here. Honestly, we just need to go and actually take a look, audit, and make sure that we're putting the money where it's going to do the best for the kids.
Great. Thank you, Keith. Nicole?
Honestly, hands down for me, the top issue would be the mental health crisis that we have going on with our students. You know, it's saying a lot that I have 4 children in Malden Public Schools. I think to further explain how involved I am and how much of a crisis this is, I'm also the neighborhood mother, and I swear I'm mom to like over half the school at both the high school and the elementary school, the Linden, that my children go to. And towards the end of last year, the police were being called almost every single day for violent fights that were breaking out at the high school. My children, my teenagers were learning more about fist fights and how to protect themselves in the hallways than they were in actual education. English, math, grammar, everything. Now, it's a spiraling crisis. And I gotta say, in the past 2 months, I've had at least 3 teenagers that I have had to help. Unfortunately, suicide. One I had to talk down from a bridge, not even a month ago. Friends of my teenagers, and one of the teenagers that I have, I have an additional set. I have 2 17 years old, and one of them actually, she was an emergency placement with us through DCF, and her mental health, getting access for her has been like pulling teeth. We do not have enough social workers at our schools. We don't have enough resources. I know the system, and as knowledgeable of the system as I am at a loss for how to help my children and their friends get through some crippling adult issues that they should never have to face as children, and we are failing them on that count. We can do better.
Thank you, Nicole. Sharon?
Thank you. I'm going with the, sort of an umbrella thing of what our top pressing issue is. I think it should always be what our top pressing issue is, which is how are we best serving our kids? Are we best serving our kids? That is literally what we are supposed to be doing, is educating our kids and giving them the support that they need, and that's for every single kid who is under our care. And I look at that and I said, I'm not okay with seeing the recent scores that came out, and I want to know, where are we failing the kids? What can we do? We have to take a look at that. We know that there are inequities between the schools with what we offer, between programs. We hear that all of the time. People come in and they advocate, and I recently have been talking to the superintendent because I don't want it to become that a school who has a parent who understands to come and do a public comment and reach out to us, we take care of that, but then we don't look at the other schools. It's on us to make sure that, those inequities are being addressed so that kids are all getting the same opportunities. I said, the scores are one thing, and we are making some efforts towards that. I also would love to see, I greatly support the arts, and I would like to see that coming into a greater place into our schools. It does come down to, under this whole thing, is also the issue with funding. We know we're going to be struggling, and I know that we've already started looking at, where are we going to go? And we're looking at this as a city. I do hope that people get involved with the Chapter 70 funding formula, discussions that are going on. There are different efforts being made to bring that to more awareness in the levels of the state, because it does impact us. And all of these changes that we all want to do, everything that we want to do, it does require money. The city will be struggling with trying to make up the mandated amount for the local contribution. So we have to take that, but we can't lose sight of the fact that all of it comes down to, we still have to take care of our students, every single one. And we have to find ways to be able to do that. So that would be my top pressing issue forever.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Kimberly?
May I hear the question again?
Sure. So the first segment of the question, you'll have 2 minutes, is what do you see as the top pressing issue in Malden Public Schools? And then we'll go back around and we'll ask you, what will you do to address that particular issue? So the first question is, what do you see as the top pressing issue in Malden Public Schools?
I will echo the sentiment. I think it's funding, money. We cannot operate without a budget. And Malden has not built its budget and has not planned for its school's growth. I think we are being outpaced by the charter school, hands down. I am a huge proponent of educational choice. Where people send their children is their business. I think it's our job as cities and communities to provide as many educational avenues as possible. And I think it's critically important to fund public schools and hold our city officials accountable that have been here for a very long time, who have allowed these things to come to fruition. I think there's an accountability mechanism that I think is our biggest problem in the Malden School Committee, public schools right now, is accountability of our funding, because we should not be in the position we are in. And I think that the social emotional needs that we should be focusing on and should be meeting can't happen. I want to see individual bathroom stalls in all our schools. I want to see renovations like that are happening in all the other cities around us, because they secured funding for it, because they prioritize those social emotional needs. So funding for social emotional things, but more importantly, holding people accountable for the funding that we currently don't have.
Thank you very much. Dawn?
Thank you. So everyone's mentioned funding. We all know that Malden's education funding is a very pressing issue. Despite our city's commitment to education, our Chapter 70 aid lags behind our neighboring districts. Cities like Everett and Revere, they have comparable student numbers, and yet they get so much more aid. So that's certainly a pressing issue moving forward, just to be able to support the school system. But, additionally, and I've said since I first ran in 2019, representation matters. And I think that Malden Public Schools our faculty does not reflect our student body. And, it just doesn't entail students of color. It's, students of different intersectional identities and experiences need to see themselves reflected in the classrooms, in the offices, in positions. It's a proven fact that when students see themselves mirrored, they do better, they're more engaged. And so that's always been a pressing issue for me. Additionally, as my colleague, Ms. Rose Zyberg, has said, our MCAS test scores was frightening. The fact that our Malden High School is in need of intervention is very concerning to me. Why are we not engaging with our students? The current chronic absenteeism, why aren't our students wanting to come to school? These are pressing issues. You can't learn if you're not there. So thank you.
Thanks very much. Elizabeth?
Thank you. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but money. I really don't know what else to say other than money. Having sat at an emergency subcommittee budget meeting earlier this week, I really strongly encourage all of you to look at the Chapter 70 funding formula. When we compared our data, as Dawn had mentioned, Chelsea, Everett, and Revere are comparative districts. Some of them receive literally double the amount of money that Malden does. We cannot do any of these marvelous things that everyone else sitting up here has mentioned that we would like to do, or at least take into consideration, without money. On top of that, I do think that there are a lot of growth opportunities for students. There are things that we know that are there that teachers have communicated to us that they would love to try, love to do things differently, love to have access to different materials, different curriculums, and things like that. Again, everything is always going to come back to money. The one thing that I will say that doesn't directly come back to money, if you watched the last school committee meeting, you got the information that everyone else had mentioned with some of the lower test scores and things like that. I think that's a multi-level problem. Also with the fact that MCAS was not counting this past year, I think changed the engagement level of our students. Aside from that, at that meeting I mentioned very specifically that our focus seemed to draw away from the math instruction and curriculum. And that is something that I was very outspoken about, the fact that I was not pleased with, and I would like for it to be different. So those at this time are the most important things for me.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. Peter?
It's hard to pick one thing, right? I mean, money, of course. Yeah, I can pick two. I'm going to talk about money because I can't not, but at the same time, I also want to highlight a few issues that are particularly important for me. But let's start with the money issue because this is one of the main reasons that I'm running for school committee. I want to be a responsible steward of taxpayer money, and there are going to be difficult conversations, and I want to be at the table ensuring that my students and their peers are getting the best educational experience possible with the money that we have. And I'm excited, actually, it's going to be tough, but I'm excited for a robust public debate about money. There's the Prop 2.5 override that is headed our way, but there's other things as well. The State Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed has public hearings right now about the Chapter 70 funding formula, specifically about the formula used to calculate local contributions, which has gone way up in Malden. And so we should be contributing to this conversation. Also, in the most recent state budget, the governor vetoed a portion of the charter reimbursement money. Many people don't know this, but public schools get reimbursed when they lose students to charter schools, and a portion of that was vetoed in the most recent state budget. We need that money back in Malden, and we need to advocate to let the governor know we need that money back. So, and then money fuels everything. I fully support the comments about student mental health. I see it in the districts that I work in, and if we have more money, we have more guidance support. We need accountability in finance about how we're spending that money. We need to hire more diverse teachers. All of these things are possible. We can even out the inequities in K-8 schools when we have more money. I want to highlight two things also that are super important to me: safe routes to school and curriculum diversity. And I think my time is about to be up soon, so I have a few more seconds. Malden does not have school buses. We don't have school buses in Malden, which means that, now my time's up. I'll circle back around to it in a minute.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very, very much. So, and as I mentioned, we'll start going around with, we'll go with Keith and we'll follow the same route. And Keith, I think you echo, or you started what everybody ended up echoing, which was money. So how would you address that? Everybody has 1 minute. How would you address the primary issue that you have all identified?
Well, I mean, when I first came on to the school committee, when I was first elected, one of my personal priorities was to make sure that we got the millionaire's tax passed, because we needed those funds. And knowing that there were people out there, they could afford going and paying an extra dollar on $1 million plus annually of interest of income to go and help our schools, to help our students. Honestly, it's really going to go and take, and you're going to hate me saying this, it's going to take a village. It's going to take all of us working together to go and call our state representatives and saying, what are you doing to help us? What are you doing to go and find us grants? What are you doing to go in and work towards this? And we've had a very education-centric legislative representatives. Jason Lewis is on the education channel.
Thank you, Keith.
And really, it's going and pressing them.
Great. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you so much. Nicole, you identified in particular, the mental health crisis. That was a point of your emphasis. If you could address that, please.
So With the mental health crisis, as I stated, it's at epic proportions. We do not have enough social workers in our schools, counseling staff. We don't have resources for parents who are left struggling, behemoth of a system. And when parents are actively reaching out, and I have helped them, to reach out, and the answer has been that in some cases they're turned to DCF, and DCF is coming back and saying that they don't even have enough funding right now to care for the children they're mandated to care for. So you hear all of us up here going, money, 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 and that's true, but it's two-pronged. The next person who sits in this seat, in all of these seats, they need to be an activist. We can't just sit back and be passive and accept the money that we're handed. We need to be out there driving more. But also, we need to have good stewardship of those funds and find out areas where we're going to get more bang for our buck. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very much. Sharon, you identified a few in terms of test scores, how to best serve our kids, inequities, also at the arts, and of course the funding. How do you solve world peace, essentially? So,
We solve it with money. For some of the stuff with work, I would actually enjoy working with the superintendent, so we'll continue doing that and advocating for areas where I think that we need to improve all of the student services. Ultimately, that is our job, to advise him, guide him. We supervise him, so I'll be continue working with him. When it comes to the money, I have been advocating. I frequently talk to our state delegation about the Chapter 70 situation. I do want to thank Vice Chair Jen Spadafora, who is actually speaking tonight, to put forth our case for why there needs to be changes. That's why she's not here. I thank her for being able to go out and do that, and we need to do more of that. I also think that part of what we need to do to address some of the issues I have with serving our students, we have to get creative. While these solutions are going to be coming, they're not going to be immediate, but we still need to serve our kids. So I like there's different things the superintendent had started doing with different ways to approach after-school opportunities. I want to see if there's ways that we can do that for before and after, as well as other looking for grants and things like that.
great. Thank you very much. Kimberly, you identified once again, money, but one of your points of emphasis was accountability of funding. Would you like to address that in a minute?
I absolutely would. So accountability of funding is incredibly important, especially in times when it is being cut everywhere you look. Federally, statewide, we are in a crisis. And citywide, we have found ourselves again in a crisis. And there are certain individuals and bodies that have allowed a crisis to happen, and they need to be held accountable, but it's holding them accountable to find the solutions, and it's calling them out, it's bringing community engagement to it. I think being at the State House, I think organizing within the community, and most importantly, transparency. A lot of people don't understand that the push and the pull between the public and the charter and the private schools, it's a lot of hearsay and it's a lot of opinion. And we're all actually looking for the same things, which is quality education, and the money is there, and it's how we share it and how we spend it and what it provides for our community. That's really important.
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. Dawn, you spoke about money, but you also you also spoke about representation and how our students are not, our faculty is not reflected with the students.
Yes, I did. And so, we all know that Malden is the most diverse public school system in Massachusetts. And so, yes, the faculty needs to better reflect our students. A couple of years ago, I served on the steering committee that was charged with finding culturally responsive curriculum for our students. But we need to go a step further. We need to be intentional with our hiring practices. I think that, what I would love to have is a college fair here in Malden that also invites HBCUs to the table. We're just not using all of our resources to better serve our children and our students.
Thank Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you also referenced money, and you also emphasized Chapter 70 and the discrepancies with that. How would you like to address that?
Thank you. I want to jump off what Sharon was saying and thank Vice Chair Spatafora for going to this statewide meeting tonight to bring up the issues with the Chapter 70 funding. I know we all have been speaking in different subcommittee meetings and with the superintendent in our meeting. I've been speaking with city councilors as well about really doing a deep dive into the budget to see if there's places that we are not collecting what we should be collecting. I think there are certain areas here that we need to look at more closely, both on a Malden level, but I think it's really important for us to consider partnering with families in the community, even the students. The high school students are very actively involved in their education, and I think it's important for people at the State House to hear what is happening when this funding formula doesn't properly address them. All right.
Thank you. And Peter, you spoke about being a responsible steward of funding, as well as the charter school reimbursement veto and safe routes to school and curriculum diversity. Pick one or two that you think you.
I threw a lot out there. All right. I'm gonna focus on safe routes to school and curriculum diversity. We've heard a lot of great comments about funding. As a parent at Salem Wood School, I'm involved with the PTO. We're partnering with Malden Safe Streets to create a walk bus program, which is exactly like it sounds. A group of students who walk to school together, and I'm the walk bus captain for Malden. This is a way of getting students to school on time and safely, and to build community. And just yesterday, a WBZ radio reporter, James Rojas, came out and did a story about our walk bus at Salem Wood, so I encourage you to go check that out. That's the Safe Routes to School. And then, we talked about the diversity in Malden. It's the reason that my wife and I moved here. And so our diversity is rich, and yet our curriculum has not kept up with it. Malden is ripe for a dual language program, for example. There are a number of ways that we can leverage our diversity in curriculum. Bringing in diverse books into libraries is another one. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your answers and the points that you all brought up. Now this is the part that I've been looking forward to the most, because we have questions from the audience, and in particular we have questions from our young leaders and our youth leaders, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from them. Angie, I know you were going to put them on the spot. Would you like to have them come up and ask the question, or would you like to ask the question yourself? Whatever they're comfortable doing. And yet their stunned silence is very reassuring. So, again, you are our next generation of leaders, so thank you for us. I always get excited when I see the young leaders come up. It is really, really uplifting. Thank you for making time to be here. And if you could introduce yourselves and yeah.
Hi, okay. Hi guys, my name is May and I'm a senior from Malden High School, and I'm not going to ask the question, but I just wanted to let everyone know that outside we have me and my other youth member wrote a 10-page report about why Malden High School should introduce more languages into the curriculum, especially like Asian languages, because, yeah, we want to improve inclusivity. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you.
My name is Nam, and I'm here to ask this question. How do you plan, like what is your specific plan to help bring more inclusive languages like Creole or like Chinese or Mandarin, anything like that to Malden High School? Because we have had meetings with the superintendent, and he says there's a lot of trouble. So like, how do you think you can change that? How do you think you can help like the whole diverse Malden High School? Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your question. Thank you for coming up, and thank you for being here this evening. We will start, I guess, with Kimberly, work our way down, and then for the second question on each session, we'll start with Sharon and work our way back down. So Kimberly, if you'd like to begin.
Sure, and thank you, that was very brave. Language options in Malden seem like a no-brainer. I can't believe that we don't have this already, because as a graduate of Malden High, this was the trend that many years ago. So if I were to be elected, I would do anything I could policy-wise to implement that. My dad speaks Mandarin and I think a little Cantonese. I've never been able to pick it up that well, but I did live in Mexico for a little while, and I love the idea of having more languages in Malden. We are known for and represent so many spoken languages. That one seems easy to me, so I would say that I would do whatever was necessary.
Dawn?
Thank you, Nam, for the question. So, of course, what we previously talked about, everything comes down to funding and money. We would love to have language access and different languages that represent our students, particularly in the high school, because how cool would it be for your friends, American friends, or Spanish-speaking friends, for you to be able to communicate in each other's native language? I think that would be so cool. It's just funding and it's money, but that's certainly something that I would advocate for if we can change the Chapter 70 funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks for asking, Nam. It's a great question, and I actually have a little bit of a different perspective on this as someone who works in a school district where there's Mandarin taught. I can tell you a couple things about some of the barriers about actually hiring for this position. Not necessarily Mandarin, but I'm just giving you an example. Money, obviously, I'm not gonna go there with you guys. You know that at this point. One of the biggest issues with finding a teacher of foreign language is that it is one of the most difficult positions to fill in a school, period. So I think the best way to go about finding that teacher is by growing your own. I can stand corrected here, but I believe there's a program at Malden High called Grow Your Own, where I know of at least one senior that's in it, and it is where you learn about the education field, and the second part of your senior year, you are helping out in classrooms and learning what it means to be a teacher's assistant. I think if we really want to do this, that's going to be the best way to go about that.
Great. Thank you very much. Peter?
Really appreciate this question, and I'm really excited to check out the paper, May, that you mentioned in the hallway there. I was going to mention Grow Your Own programs. I think that this is a really smart way of bringing language diversity into the schools. Students, like in so many ways, we have everything we need here, right? Students speak those languages, and if they're in a Grow Your Own program and they become teachers, then that kind of like builds the stock for teaching these languages. I think that's really important. Money is always a problem, of course, but I think that we can think about creative ways to get around that maybe. So for example, there are so many community-based organizations in Malden that represent folks from different backgrounds, like the great groups that are hosting this event. Maybe Malden Public Schools can partner with them to at least hire folks in an ESP role, an education support professional, so that that person can bring some of this language diversity into the school. That's different than hiring a certified teacher, of course, but the resources are there in our community and we can harness that.
Wonderful, thank you. Keith?
Thank you, and it's a question that's kind of near and dear to my heart. My wife goes and speaks fluent Spanish. Her family is from Mexico, and mi español es pobre, which means my Spanish is horrible. That being said, I'll echo the sentiments of everyone here. It's hard to get teachers that are qualified to go and speak. It's a hard position to go and fill. Of course, we need to go and have the funding to go and do this stuff. I think we do need to go and come at this from sometimes different angles, getting community involvement. Chinese Cultural Connection does a wonderful program about going and teaching Mandarin. There are certainly other groups out there that we can reach out to. I'm sure the mosque might go and have people that would be willing to go and teach Arabic. I would also like to go and see us go and do maybe a little bit more cultural inclusion classes, things that I've gone and championed, the CARES Act, for instance, to go and show that there's diverse histories. If you get people interested in the culture surrounding these languages, they'll want to go and learn the language so that they can understand the culture better.
Thank you, Keith. Nicole?
So what's so beautiful about language is it's not just about the words that we're saying. It represents the culture that we come from, the shared traditions of those who came before us, and even how we think. And some of the greatest inventions of all time come from looking at the problem from a different point of view, which is what wires our brains on how to have those different viewpoints. And so, yes, I think we made it very clear, funding is an issue, but we can get creative about it. Why can't we have World Languages Month to celebrate district-wide and reach out with community partnerships and allow students themselves to give presentations about their language and how it's evolved and the heritage that it represents, sharing cultural phrases or expressions that are beyond just direct translation, as well as maybe having, we're going to speak Mandarin for a day, we're going to speak Arabic for a day, do it with us. And I think that is a great interim step.
Thank you, Nicole. Thanks very much. Sharon?
Thank you. Again, this is something we can obviously advocate with the superintendent to work on getting this established within our school system. I actually was having a conversation, this is true, was talking about this yesterday to a parent in the city as we were talking about what languages and how they've changed over time, what we offer in the schools. And we literally said this needs to happen. So I hear you and I agree with you. Other things now, knowing with the budget, I also know it is hard to do that. I actually love what you had said, Peter, about maybe there's ways, and it ties in with what Dawn has said about representation, with getting people into our school systems who already are speaking these languages. It's not the same by any ways of actually teaching people, but at least exposes people to it in a different way, which I would be interested in seeing if we can work on something like that. So well done. Did also wonder, again, the whole part with getting creative, if we can't get it into the classroom, maybe there are ways that we can pull in and offer more of these after-school opportunities to at least get those out there in our younger grades, and then work towards getting it into high school as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you all so much for your answers to that. And thank you once again to the youth leaders for your question. That was wonderful. Thanks so much. Do we have a second question? I know there are two questions usually, I think. Okay, we had the youth question, so I think that's fine. We'll go straight into the candidates' closing statements, and we started with Kimberly. So we will start with Sharon with your closing statement, and we'll work our way down this way.
Thank you to everyone who put this event together and to everyone watching. I'm dedicated to my work on the school committee, and I look forward to continuing my work for a third term. As most of you probably know, I'm running unopposed. When I ran the first time, I thought of a Linden principal who told me she wanted her legacy to be she always put the student first over everything when she made her decisions. I'd come to her with a very difficult school situation, and I started to cry when she told me, "Give me 3 days, it'll be taken care of." She asked me why I was crying. I explained I had no idea which way that discussion was going to go, and all I wanted was my son to get what he needed. Her words helped my heart that day, and I still use those to guide me on the school committee. Our job and my job is to do our best for all students, and all students means just that. I remain committed to listening, doing my research, asking questions, working as a team, finding answers, and working on solutions. This is an amazing privilege to be on the school committee and to get to do this. I don't take anything for granted, and I don't take for granted the trust and support I've been given by voters in Ward 8. I humbly ask for your continued support and your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Nicole.
These are definitely challenging times to be a school committee member. And back when I went to go and graduate from high school, for myself, I almost didn't graduate because my family didn't have enough money to pay for the fee to grade my senior project. Because growing up in Utah, they had piecemealed and charged an arm and a leg for every single piece of education that we were to receive. And I was shocked when I went to go and enroll my first child here, and there were no fees. It was literally free education, and I was floored. We take so many things for granted. We can't just sit here and complain about the money. We need to have accountability. We need to be proper stewards and find areas where we can invest that will give us more fruit, more cultivation. And so that's what I pledge to do. I'll be a partner up here as a working parent to represent your interests and make sure we do the best for our children and their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Keith, you're up next.
Thank you. I want to go and thank the organizers. You've done a great job. My name is Keith Bernard. I am asking for your vote by November 4th for re-election to Ward 7 School Committee. I just want to go and take a moment and share my thoughts here. It's a privilege to go and do a job like this. It's an honor. I take it very seriously. It takes certain kind of qualities to go and do it, and that is to have conviction, be humble, and to know how to work as a team. Because it takes a team of us to go and actually go and do these things, to do the budget, to put the policies together, to listen to you, and to try and go and find solutions for all of these problems. And it also goes and takes being able to go and work with you, the public. And I look forward to going and hearing you and talking with you and hearing what you want as we go and we move forward. My name is Keith Bernard, and I'm looking forward to going and having your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Peter.
Thanks again, Leverett, for hosting. Thanks to the organizations for putting these together, the students for their thoughtful questions. We are at an unprecedented time in our nation's history, period, but especially for American public education, with threats to budget cuts and threats to the kind of curriculum diversity that we have talked about that we value so much here. And as a parent of young children, I know how overwhelming this can be to take in the news on a daily basis. I am asking for your vote in Ward 6 because I want to be that voice for you to connect, to hear about your concerns during these times, and to represent your interests and your perspective in the places where decisions are made about students. There's a lot up for debate. There's a lot at stake in current debates about public education, and I want to work with the community to represent your voices. Piazza4Malden.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Elizabeth, please.
Thank you so much for hosting this forum tonight. I hope that my answers to the questions gave you a little bit of, gave you a little bit of insight into the way that I like to participate in the school committee and within the community. It's really important to me that every student in this district gets exactly what they need to be properly educated and to move into adulthood with opportunities available to them. I think it's really important that we continue to advocate as a group and work together. I think it's incredibly important that parents feel and other people within the community feel as though they can communicate with us in various means and get their questions answered, as well as receive support from us. I will be the Ward 5 committee member yet again because I'm running unopposed, and I look forward to continuing some of the work that I've started during this previous term. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Dawn.
Thank you, and thanks once again to the organizers, to our moderator, to our wonderful Malden students in the back. Thank you for hosting and organizing this. Malden is the most diverse school district in Massachusetts. We always talk about that, and that's not a challenge. That's actually our superpower. But diversity without investment, without representation, without accountability, that's just a statistic. You know, there are things that we need to build from and make sure, my time is running out, make sure that these issues are not just abstract issues, right? So leadership isn't about comfort or maintaining, it's about courage, it's about accountability and action. And I will continue to stand for our students, and folks know they call me from across the wards, not just Ward 4. I'm here for all of the students. Thank you once again. I do ask for your support, your continued support, and your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. It does go quickly, doesn't it?
Too quickly.
All right, Kimberly, please.
Thank you all for your time tonight. I am a lifelong resident of Malden and a graduate of Malden High. My parents shared a locker at Malden High, and my grandfather taught at the old middle school that no longer, I think it's the ELC now. I genuinely value Malden's Asian community's contribution to our culture. It's affected how I live my life, how I serve my community, and I think that the beauty of Malden is its diversity, and very specifically, the Asian community's commitment to Malden and making it better is incredible. I want to use my voice to help the students in our lives get what they need, and I will promise, if elected, to hold elected officials accountable, like I've mentioned, city and statewide. Malden deserves leadership that wants to fight for the best interest of students, families, and educators, and I feel like I understand the needs of families. I love Malden. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd love to give everybody up here a wonderful round of applause. Thank you all so much. This is, your answers were thoughtful, they were thorough, they showed passion, and each of you have such a deep resonance and deep background here in Malden. When some of you said you had grandchildren, I said, no way. But I do want to say thank you to all of you for your commitment. I was talking with Peter, who actually parked behind me on the way here, and we were talking about what it really is a tougher time to run for office now more than ever. You already have to take your time, your energy, you put your family out there, and especially now with the rhetoric the way it is, you put yourselves out there, and it does take a lot of courage to put yourself out there. So thank you all for your sacrifice and your commitment to this. And I think I mentioned earlier that I've moderated several forums, 3 here in Malden, probably a couple of dozen around the state in different areas. And so what I always do is I do research into what am I getting myself into. And so I did research, and I know, all right? I know. But so I want to thank all of you, particularly here, for your thoughtfulness, for your cordiality and the civilness in this discourse that I think bodes well. I think it also is a wonderful example to our students here. I hope to the students here, I hope you saw this is how it can and should be done. The stuff that you see on TV, that is sort of the extreme. This is a wonderful example of how it can and should be done, and I really hope that this encourages all of you and anybody who's watching on YouTube or who will be watching this on YouTube. I hope this encourages you to stay active and stay involved and be part of this process, because particularly for the youth, you are the next steps in this generational struggle. So thank you for being involved. Thank you to our translators, Anna Se, Terry Yin. Thank you to our organizers. And thank you again to all of you who have been, did I forget you again? And I'm sorry, what is your name again? Lynn, thank you again. I forgot her last time too, and I'm so mad. So my apologies. We'll edit that out of the YouTube feed. So, no, I'm just kidding. But thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to the candidates. And early voting has started. There are flyers out front, which are once again translated into Mandarin, into Chinese and Vietnamese, detailing where you can start your early voting. And that is once again a wonderful step for this community in Malden and the Asian American community. Thank you all so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to all of you. We have food, I think some refreshments out front. And once again, stick around, get to know everybody here. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to get to know your public officials and the candidates and people who are involved in the community. So please, stick around and get to know folks. So have a good evening, everybody, and Election Day is very soon. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much.